She said she wanted to be part of the video. And then I don't know what happened. She changed her mind. Okay. Hi, you guys. So I'm, trying to do these settings. I figured out like I just have to hit mute if I want to be quiet. I still don't have room on my phone. Hi. I know it's been a minute, and I've actually recorded some videos since the last video I uh, showed you, posted, but I should say, however, they're just telling me no. It was interesting because during the video, there weren't any stops or problems or anything like that. But then when I went to watch it back, it was like super glitchy, kind of annoying glitchy, where I'm like telling a story, but it's like, yeah, and it's just really annoying. However, again, there were some really great parts that were quite interesting. So, where to begin? Where to begin? Where to begin? Where to begin? The time construct has really been something. Are you guys experiencing like how different time is in our world as opposed to the time in like the third dimensional energy world? Um, it's actually really interesting. When I'm with spirit and in nature, it seems like the day lasts forever. But like if I go shopping or deal with people or I'm doing stuff on my phone or whatever, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like hours slip by and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's already this time, like a lot of things have kind of gone topsy turvy and like upside down. And it's like whatever was right side up is now upside down. And like all of these things are changing and growing and evolving. And I've been doing so much work on myself, my home, uh, you know, my channels. And even recently, I watched this tutorial on how to, really like grow your channel or like how to um, naturally, grow your channel, whatever. And she's like, these are the 5 things that are stopping you from growing your channels. But the interesting thing was, even though there were 3 out of 5 things there that I could see, like, that went towards like me and like what's going on with me, at the same time, I started to realize I'm like, I think people who like people, like, I feel like we've gotten so used to things being perfect and polished. People are like editing their videos, a certain way. And it's like right now, right? Like, I would edit out like me, like going on the video and, whatever. But instead, Bubba wanted to be there. And that happened. I was really excited. I thought she was going to sit with me. I was super excited, but it didn't. But she just wanted to be there for a second. But that's my life. That's why this channel is called Lula's Life, because my life is not like other people's. I'm not like other people. And some people are going to find me interesting and some people aren't going to find me interesting, you know? Some people are going to call me ugly and be like, gosh, you couldn't do anything with yourself. I see some of these horrific comments on some other videos where I'm like, what is going on in your life that you say, like, that you think that's okay? It's just bizarre. So, the main reason why I have been more MIA these weeks was beyond self care September. It was just, I mean, I am going through a type of metamorphosis that I've never experienced in my 5 decades that I've been in this avatar. Um, Nothing feels familiar. Uh, just like all these moments where I'm like, uh, why do I feel like this? Why am I thinking that? Why? And it was interesting because I said to my husband the other day, I go, I am mentally, physically, and emotionally like not myself. I'm like, I don't know how to. Looks like I had a facelift. I'm like, I don't know how to explain it any other way. Like, I literally don't know how to explain it any other way. Um, And then all of these things have been coming to me to show me what's been going on, because I've had a few come to Jesus with spirit where I'm like, come on. Like these setbacks that we keep having, I'm just like, but I'm constantly reminded that it's spirit's time and not mine. I'm constantly reminded that controlling isn't working for me. I'm constantly reminded that I need to find a way to love myself and others unconditionally and work with my ego. So the full moon in Aries kicked the fucking shit out of me. And it's interesting because anytime I have some major thing that happens through an astrological experience, I absolutely believe that that is that. You know what I mean? I'm like, that was, whoa, man, that was something. Like, whoo, that must have been it, you know? Yeah, no. The full moon in Aries was like, it was almost like we went into this new like ka-chink, like this new, like when spring came in 2023 in the northern hemisphere. You know, it was like we were really shifting into not just a new year of 2023, but we were shifting into a new dimensional field, a new energy field. That it's like you can stay and live in the third dimension as much as you want to, absolutely, but it's like if you want to live happy and live your dreams, you must change everything that you are, and or at least revisit everything you are so that you can understand and connect with who you are in the fifth dimensional energy, which is love, which is what this planet was always derived for. This was a place for souls to grow. This wasn't a place to turn into a fucking slave planet like it has been. That's not what it was meant for. But because it was designed with the idea that we had free will, you know, people are like, why doesn't, you know, a baby's killed? Why isn't God intervening? Why, you know, that animal. Okay, speaking of, bless you. Speaking of, we're all home right now. It's early in the morning. Uh, Yesterday, I'll get back to that because there, that's what this is all about. So it's not like I'm gonna forget it, but I do have to tell you what happened yesterday. And I'm not saying this for my ego. I'm trying to explain to you guys like how things work. And that the more I open my eyes, my spiritual eyes, my soul knowledge, my intuition, the more I use that, the more I recognize and understand things as they're happening. Because Kelly keeps wanting to drive the bus, and she is a part of me. She'll always be a part of me, but you know, and she got me to where I am, bless her. Um, but she's the one that always wanted to die. She's the one that always wanted to leave. She's the one, you know, that was in fight or flight and in survival mode. Lula, Tallulah, like I'm that energy, that essence of me is was always there too. You see, she was always there. But the free will of Lula was taken over by the free will of Kelly from the third dimensional energy that she was raised in and became. So yesterday I was really hemming and hawing whether or not I was going to go out into the world, because whatever I'm going through is so, I mean, I'm just going to say it, grotesque. Like I'm having these fits of rage that I'm like, what the fuck was that? And Alder, that's why I've been like, you know, I posted in my shorts, you know, it was actually an old video I took of him, um, that he, when he was repairing a tire, I'm like, dude, you're such a Renaissance man, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so I posted that. So go check it out in my shorts. It's cute. But I did Bonnie Tyler's hero. You know, I need a hero because he really has. He's been holding a lot of space for me because I've been going through such a breakdown of self, and a breakdown, like all these breakdowns I'm having are just really breaking me through to the other side. Break all through to the other side. So I was hemming and hawing. I was like, I don't, and he's like, I'll go. Don't worry about it. Like, I'll go. Like, we needed food, you know? He's like, no, 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 I'll go. And then I said, no, I feel compelled to go. So when we were leaving, I felt like whenever spirit wants me to do something, but I'm not sure what it is, if you've ever hung out with me, you know, like, cause when I'm feeling good, we just go and everything's good. When I'm like taking my time, when I'm like, I don't know why, but I feel like we're not meant to leave yet, you know, and then like, you know, we'll see traffic or we'll see something and that we missed. And I'm like, oh, that's why we weren't supposed to leave, you know? yesterday was such a miracle because, and I say miracle because it really was, because we had a plan of things we had to get done yesterday. And I was like, okay, I only have so much bandwidth for X, Y, and Z. So, let's ask spirit where we should start, where we, you know what I mean? And that's what we did. But I had this moment when I was leaving the grocery store yesterday. I came out with my cart and I kind of don't even remember how exactly it happened because it all happened so fast that I still have been like chewing on it because I mean, like, there were times last night where I would like say to Alder, I was like, I'm like, you got to understand. I'm like, I don't mean to keep, I go, I hope you realize I'm like, I'm not saying this like, oh, I think I'm so great. And, I'm stroking my ego. I'm like, no, it's just like, I know personally, he likes to wait in the car when I go shopping. And this one store that we go to, I know a lot of people that work there because I've been going there for so long. And they're like, there's this beautiful lady that works there. She's become like family to me. I can't explain it. Like, we've definitely been connected in another life. We're both witches. She's amazing. And she's been going through a lot of health issues. And so I've been like, sending a Reiki, praying for her and stuff. And so before we went there, I said to Spirit, I was like, I'm so run down. I'm so tired. Um, Please just surround me with your light. And if I can serve and I can help in any way, please let me know. I'm like, otherwise, I'm like, can you just like, I asked Michael, Archangel Michael, I'm like, can you just like put a white light around me of protection? Like, nobody's going to talk to me. Nobody's going to see me, kind of thing. Like, I go, unless I am needed, then I'm okay with that, but not the random, like sometimes when I'm using my pendulum in the store, people feel this need to come and talk to me. Totally fine. I get it. Most of it's positive, but I do get some people once in a while, or I get these like death stares, like that you can tell, like I can almost put them in like an outfit where I'm like, oh yeah, you would have hung me from a tree or burned me alive. You know what I mean? That they're like sickened that I'm putting my witchiness like out there in the world in public, like I'm showing like I'm, holding hands with a girl and kissing her in public, that kind of thing, where those people, that very old way of thinking, very narrow-minded thinking of what they believe and what they feel love is. And so I was in the store for quite a while and I ran into her and we hadn't like talked in a minute. And so we were talking, I mean, I even had to say like, I'm so drained, like I can give you a few minutes, but I'm like, I can't, I'm like, I'm so tired, I need to just like stay. And she's like, okay, okay, okay. But then it ended up being a really great thing, and we gave each other good energy. It was really good. So cut to, I finally leave the store, and when I leave, all I remember was screaming, and I saw something run, and and then I saw a leash dragging on the ground. There was this massive electrical box that was, I couldn't see what kind of dog it was. All I knew is it was a dog because it had a leash and these people were screaming. It was like I had to decide within seconds how I was going to do this because they were literally feet away from going into the 101 freeway. Feet, feet, under 10 feet. We're talking like 5 feet. But the bizarre thing is the only reason why I hesitated was it was the first time that like normally I'm just like bam, like I don't even think about my health. I don't think about what happens to me. This has happened to me so many times throughout my lifetime that I know that I'm meant to help people or go in a certain way or whatever because um when something like like something happened the other day where our water spigot broke and there was water everywhere and I was like, fuck. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God. And I was freaking out. Like later I was like, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do that? You know what I mean? Like in that kind of instance, I don't always have like like the weird thought to like do it properly or like, why didn't I grab that pan or why didn't I, you know what I mean? Like, but in something like that, I don't think, I just go because if it's in my path, I must be needed somehow. But this time was different. I stopped for a split second, a split second. It really was. It was as if I stopped time because all of a sudden I was like, am I supposed to get involved? Should I not? You know what I mean? Like, because as horrific as that would be for the people to watch their animal get killed, for the people, it was really busy. The freeway was, or the road was really busy, and there's a light there, but no, it wasn't like traffic was stopped. You know what I mean? Like it was moving, and um, and I thought, my God, like most people, if they saw the dog, are gonna slam on the brakes. So there's, I didn't know what was gonna happen, but at the same time, as horrific as that sounds, sometimes it's not my fucking job to get involved. Sometimes, like, maybe I'm just there to hold space for people during the tragedy, or like whatever. Like, everything happens for a reason, and we can't always play the superhero. Sometimes, you know we have to ask ourselves, like, are we supposed to get involved in that? Because it's like when you're watching a movie and you're like, how come nobody's helping them? And you're like, I would go help them. Well, sometimes we're not supposed to help. Sometimes things are supposed to happen that way in front of a lot of people, to witness something, to make us be appreciative of our lives, to have gratitude for, the air in our lungs that's still happening, that person died, or that happened, or whatever. But it was like, that is seriously how it was. That's why I say, like, lately I feel like I've been, like, not that I've been controlling time, but like I feel like I'm starting to understand the matrix of it all, and that, like, time, like, you can kind of, like, do superhero things. Like, it's there's just so much I want to tell you guys. There's so much that's been going on. It's been hard for me to keep, like, it straight, really. But all of a sudden it went from that split second of stopping to all of a sudden I just was like gone. And right when and as I was running towards it, because all I was looking, I just remember running and looking at the road, and it, the most bizarre thing was there was no one else around but me. It's not like there were 30 people, or even two people, or even one other person, and I was just like, oh no, I'm going to come to the rescue. It was kind of like, I just remember as I was running, I was looking around and there was no one else. And then I just ran faster. Like, I just, because I felt like, I was like, holy shit, like, okay. And then it occurred to me as it was happening that I had no idea what dog it was. All I saw was the people running. It was like, it happened so fast because the dog was running in between cars that were moving, and cars that were in the parking lot, and like, all I can see was, or hear, was screaming and people running towards the dog. And I was like, what is happening? But I had no fucking clue what kind of dog it was. I couldn't see it. I just saw the leash. It sounds crazy, but that's exactly what it was. And then I came around the corner and it was a fucking husky. I mean, it's a wolf dog. And it's interesting because I had a dog who was half husky, half Sheltie, and she was killed in a car accident. No one can get to them in time. One of my dogs lived and one of my dogs didn't. I had two dogs. And it was like, when it happened, I saw her, she stopped at this bush. Like, you know how, like, when you see, like, roads, like, you see, like, trees or bushes, like, along, like, the side of the road? It was like that. It was like there were, like, bushes and then land, and then, like, the electrical box and the parking lot and the grocery store. So, I mean, if she had just kept going, like, if she didn't stop for a second, if she had just kept going, she would have been goner. I mean, or I don't know. I mean, I don't know, but, like, I don't know what would have happened, but I can't imagine anything good. I mean, it would have been a miracle if nobody got hurt, and miracles happen. So maybe. But I just grabbed her. Well, actually, I saw her and I said, "Hey." And she just, like, it was like she got to the bush, but she was like inches away at that point. Like, it was between the bush and the freeway, basically her, the bush and the freeway. And there were big things in between the bushes. And it's not like it was like a, a row of bushes. But something in the bush made her stop. The scent, right? So some animal probably went to the bathroom there, right? Or something happened there. So she stopped, And then she started, it was like she stopped for a second. And then I go, hey. And she looked at me and I go, hey. I'm like, what are you doing, Goofy? Like, I was like, don't freak her out. Don't freak her. Because before I'd be like, come here, come here, but I didn't. I was just like, hey. And then all of a sudden it occurred to me the way she looked at me, she had this kind of like, it's like all of a sudden I realized in that second, she could bite me. She may attack me, And so I just in second, like, or like milliseconds in my head, I said to spirit, like, tell me what to do, like, show me what to do. Like, because I'm like, it's one of those moments that where, if you didn't do it, if you didn't act on it and like she bolted, people would probably be like, you had her, why didn't you grab her? You know what I mean? But I've learned last year, I think it was last year, Alder and I were going down a freeway or an expressway. I don't remember where it was, but somebody's dog, I think it was when we were with Zoe. We were stopped. Anyway, long story short, this dog got out of the car and everybody was trying to help it and traffic had stopped, but it was like a game to her. The more people were chasing her, the further it was a mess. And I was like, stop trying to chase her. I'm like, stop trying to chase her. And so when it got to me, she came to me. I was like, hey, I'm like, come here. And I almost had her. And these fucking people came up and started like, they're like, hey, hey. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, I almost had her. I'm like, stop distracting her. Um, but it was like that kind of moment, where I was like, she's going to go this way or I'm going to grab her. And so I said to Spirit, I'm like, I don't know this dog. The energy was chaotic. You can still hear the people screaming, running after her because she had gotten away so far. I mean, we're talking, this happened all within seconds, but just how much was going on in my mind at the time and how much I've changed and how much I've grown. Um, and that, stress and fear and like all of those things, like how they, push us in one direction or another direction. And long story short, I just heard, because I was going to grab her leash, but her leash was kind of behind her, and I heard grab her collar. So what I did was I just like kind of got down to her face and she had one blue eye and one, gold eye. And I swear to God, for a split second, I felt like it was Molly. I felt like it was my dog that died. And I go, hey. And as I was looking at her, I grabbed her. I went around her head and she kind of looked up like, what the fuck are you doing? But the second I grabbed it, I already like started like holding her to me. I put her face next to mine and I just like told her I loved her. And I was like, hey, what are you doing, Goofy? I'm like, don't do that. And then I just pulled her into me and I held her. And then like the people finally caught up and they were like hysterical, as you can imagine. And this woman was like, I'm shaking. I'm like, I know, I know. I'm like, it's fucking scary. I'm like, that was a scary, scary thing. I'm like, but you're okay. She's okay. And then I just started talking to the dog. Like her husband was like, thank you. He's like, you're an angel. Like, I don't know where you came from. It was so interesting. And I was like, but that's what I mean. Like, later and I got in the car, you guys don't even know how many things I did that morning, that day in the store. I actually was leaving the store. And as I was leaving the store, I was like, I have to go to the bathroom. We had talked about going and stopping by this local national park that we love. I'm like, I need some nature. And it has like a waterfall and stuff. And I was like, I go, even if we just go for like a half an hour and sit under the waterfall, I'm like, I need like nature off our property, like gushing water. I need to like feel like be in the woods. And so like if we had gone there first, like we had talked about it, I wouldn't have been there. We talked about going there first. Um, then I in my mind, we were going there second. So in my mind, I was like, you know what? I don't want to use the porta potty there. I'm going to use the bathroom here. So they all know me there. And I was like, hey, I checked out all my groceries. I left it at the end of the, register or at the end of the thing. It was kind of slow at that time. And I said, will you babysit my groceries for me so I can go to the bathroom? She was like, yeah. I come back and, while I was in the bathroom, Spirit said, you got the milk chocolate. And I'm like, what? And we get these dark chocolate, like they're like stevia from Lily's. It's like this candy, but we're vegan, right? So I go, no, I got the dark chocolate. And they were like, no, you didn't. And so I looked on the receipt when I was in the bathroom and I was like, well, I'll be damned. I did get the milk chocolate. I'm like, okay. So I go to the to pick up my stuff. I'm like, hey, you guys, I just realized, I'm like, I think I bought the wrong thing. Can I look first before I leave the store? She's like, yeah. So we went through that whole thing. The manager had to come over and return it. I mean, it was when I walked out in that second that I fucking like saved that dog. I mean, it really is spirit's timing. I mean, maybe somebody else would have been there, but I mean, I was like, how can I serve? How can I help? Don't, I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to be part of any drama or chaos unless you need me there. Their dog wasn't meant to die yesterday. Not yesterday. I hope that, but I could tell too that they have a husky and they have no fucking idea. And she's like, we have to get back. Our kids are in the car. And I'm like, no, it's okay. I'm like, go, go, go. Um, but I wanted to say a million things to them. And I was like this close to saying, do you want me to take your dog? Like, I almost was like, I don't know why I didn't. Like later I was like, I mean, probably because I wasn't supposed to, because, I'm still looking, so I was like, I felt like, maybe she was supposed to be mine. But if it's meant to be, it'll all work itself out and she'll find her way into my life. But it was wild. And so shortly after that, like the day was going good, everything was great. Um, but like, I don't know how soon after that there was another car accident, but it was on the same road, maybe 100 yards, not even. I don't even know if it was that far. It wasn't very far. But so remember when I was saying like the cars were like there's a light. It was on the other side of that light, like but they were coming in that direction. So when we left after that happened, with the dog and everything, you can tell it had just happened. So I was like, isn't that interesting? But as far as I can tell, no one was hurt. Everything was okay. The cops had just arrived. And then we went to this other store and then we ended up not going to the waterfall because it was getting late and he wanted to work on some stuff with the cabin. And so on our way back, we ended up running into like a major traffic jam because of that. And I'm like, because I couldn't help but think like, was that dog supposed to, stop something and they weren't supposed to do that? And like I changed the butterfly effect or I changed, you know what I mean? But that's what I'm saying. It's like it happened so soon after that. And I don't think I've ever seen an accident right there since we've lived here. And then there was almost a massive accident with this dog and then it didn't happen. And then we seen another accident. I mean, I don't know what fucking timeline I shifted or I don't know. But that's how integral we are to each second, to each moment. That dog got to live another day, you know? And they keep saying 2806. I saw it on the thing, but so that's an angel number for us all to look up. And it also comes out, 2806 comes out to the number 16, which is also number 7. And that's my life path number. Interesting. But I just feel like we are way more deeply connected than we even want to admit or talk about or like I mean, I said to him, I'm like, what are the odds? Like, you know, but there were no casualties that we could see. I saw an old man, he was kind of limping, but I got the vibe that he limped anyway, if that makes any sense, because it didn't look like it was like a new thing. It looked like that's how he walks. But just interesting, just very interesting. And it was a fender bender. Like it wasn't like, you know what I mean? Like it looked like someone was trying to get into the turning lane and didn't look, you know? And so it was like the back end of one car and the front end of the other car. So getting back to the shaman's path. So the full moon in Aries, like I said, was so aggressive. And if you are going through anything like this, please comment below. Like if you went through anything during the full moon in Aries, like if you've been having a tough time, please share with me. I actually just created a shorts last night on what has been happening to me for the magical medium. So a few days before the full moon, Alder was outside and I caught him in the field and he was like looking up and I'm like, what are you looking at? And he's like, you just missed the deer family. They were just here. He's like, it was so beautiful because it was dusk. And he's like, it was so beautiful. He goes, look, and I'm like, oh, and I was like, La Luna, like the Luna, well, the Luna, the moon, just, she was just so beautiful. She wasn't quite full yet, but she was getting there. It was like 2 days, it was like 48 hours before like the actual, like, peak. And as we were looking at the moon, this bat flew over our heads and into the moon. And I was like, what the fuck? It was like something out of a movie. And I said, I'm like, where's my video camera when I need it? It was like, it was so magical. It was so cool. And I heard from spirit, like, look up bat spirit medicine. And I was like, okay, but I didn't do it. So for the last like week, I've been batshit and crying and angry and just all of these things that have been happening. I feel like I had no control over my emotions, my mental state, my physical state. I kept hurting myself. I still have this like horrible sliver from this pine cone that's been stuck in my finger. It feels like I have a hook in there, um, from when I was working on the cabin the other day. And I just had this breakdown where I was just like angry, and I was like, why are we, we should be in there by now. I'm like, I'm pissed off. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of that. And I was just complaining, complaining, complaining. It was just old patterns and old energy. And I was like angry and just bitter and frustrated. And then Alder was like, I can't take much more. Like, he's been holding a lot of space for me, but he's like, I can't take much more. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. It's like we went from having this break from each other, and then like we came back together, and it was like magic for like a week. And then I just like fucking shut down again. And I just like, and I didn't understand. And then that happened yesterday with the dog. So all of this has been in the last week, basically. And then last night, Spirit asked me to read about the bat in my medicine book for my medicine cards. Has this been out of focus the whole time? I'm so sorry. I can't really tell. Um, and It was unbelievable. I don't know when they're going to have me post the shorts, so you'll have to subscribe to the Magical Medium and look out for that. It'll probably happen definitely before Samhain. I felt that. Like, I've been making really cool videos for months of things. I've been doing videos like this for you guys. I have so many videos that I'm like, I finally just decided last week, I'm like, they must just be for me to like revisit sometime so I can see how far I've come or whatever. And they're like, oh no, these are going to see the light of day. But it's for you guys to look at that when you are whatever's happening with you. And then you'll see that it also happened with me, because part of the shaman's path is when you get to the end of your really get to the end of your old self, of your old life, and you're about to cross over into your like true shamanistic practice, your daily life, you're like, letting go of the old things that don't work for you anymore. That's when the bat comes. And when I was reading it, I was like, this makes so much sense, because one of the first things they said was, when the shaman is going through their last initiation, it will affect them mentally, emotionally, and physically. I literally said to my husband, I don't know what is happening to me. I'm like, I can't explain it. I can't control it. I try to control it, but it's like, if I don't, it's like a it's like, it's like so much rage. I had no idea how much rage from my family and the ancestors that I was holding on to, from old friendships, my my work, all that. You know, everybody goes through this type of transformation when they awaken. But when we are awakening to our true self, to our higher self, and we understand that this is not real, but it's real, but you know what I mean? When we understand these things, when we have a consciousness and an awareness that we are more than this, that we are more than, agnostic, or, you know what I mean? It's like, whatever terminology you want to use for your belief system, you know, um, they're just forms of attachment or avoidance, or, those who latch on to religious practices that are so harmful, that were created by man to control. there's a breakdown of that, right? Because then that's also connected to our ego. How could I be so, dumb, right? We put these horrible words and these terminologies in ourselves. How can I do that? How can I be that way? Like, I know better. Yeah, you know now, but that's why we talk about different levels of consciousness. You know, there may have been a time where I would have probably done a video about the dog and stroked my ego the whole time, be like, isn't that amazing? Like, I was there. It's like, no, it was more like, wow. Like, I really was more like, look at how big, like, how much was happening. And in that second, I was brought there to do that. Instead of having a traumatizing day for those parents and those children, they'll never forget that, right? Maybe it was a lesson they needed to learn to understand their dog and their breed. And, you know, um, I don't, a lot of things popped out of my mouth very quickly while they were like, it was like as she was calming down, I was calming down. The dog was kind of oblivious until they could sense, but I was trying to keep them away from their fear and their stress because I didn't want them to pull away from me either. Um, but once everybody started to calm down, I said, she's young. Was she about a year? And I said, she needs more discipline and stimulation. She's a husky. You need to know more about your breed. And I said it in like the most loving way I could. And she's like, oh, I know. I gotta get back to my kids. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, but I wasn't mean about it. I was just like, and hopefully some seeds were planted because it came out of my mouth and I wasn't there to be a dick and be like, ha, you're lucky I was here, bitch. You know what I mean? It wasn't like that at all. It was more like, listen, you got a free pass today. You know, they're not always going to be there. And the timing of spirit and what's happening on this planet, we have to succumb. So after that, even after we saw that accident and all that happened, when we got stuck in traffic, Alder and I ended up having this argument about control. And we've been having these like deep discussions and these arguments about things that have to change in our relationship, in our lives, in our home. I'm like, I don't want to bring these things with us to our new home. We worked too hard to get here. We worked too hard to make it this far together. I'm like, but some things have to change from both of us. And and the more I read about the shaman, like what happens, one of the things that they do in tribes is actually when they feel like the shaman is ready, the shaman must go and dig a hole in the earth far away from the tribe, far away from society, far away from any earshot of a call. And they must dig a hole in the ground and they have to sleep in the hole in the ground. They don't have to cover themselves. They put what they do is they do that and then they pull a blanket over them. But they have to spend the night in that hole because at nighttime that's where different creatures and different predators come out. That's where our fear lies, right? When you're afraid of the dark. You're afraid of confronting your darkness. You don't want to see the parts of you that are really ugly. Oh, I've been seeing some ugly parts of me. And I know, like, they're not really, really mine. They're just embedded in me from years of abuse, years of narcissism. And I had a moment yesterday where I said to Alder, I'm like, we are both narcissists. Like, we were both raised by very narcissistic people. We both have narcissistic tendencies. We both have victim tendencies. We both have controlling tendencies. They're all interlinked, really. And they're all stemmed from fear or not getting your way or getting what you want. And sometimes not getting what you want is actually a wonderful stroke of luck. I believe that was, I forget who that quote is from. I believe it's an Asian ancestor. But, you know, when we force things too much. Of course I want to be in my house, but I told him, I go, no, I really feel like I cannot explain it anymore. I'm like, we've been taking breaks to do this and then taking breaks to do that. And I was like, now I feel like we're at the finish line. So today he's doing one last big project that's going to push us towards the very end project. And then once we get past those two things, um, we will be able to paint and move in. But there are two more projects that have to be done before. And let me tell you, one of the things that drove me mad was I was obsessed with going in the cabin and going through everything over the full moon. Not the full moon per se, because it was like the full moon was on Friday. So it was like, I think it was either Saturday or Sunday. It was like the day after the full moon or 2 days out. It was within 48 hours of it. So I knew that we had a little bit of an infestation with the mice. I knew that we did, even though we all thought all the holes were covered up and everything. They weren't. And Goddess bless our landlord. I love him, but I begged him, if he was going to eat in there, to take his food with him, and because he would work on it for a few days at a time, and then something would happen in his world, and he would leave it for a day, a week, a month, and I would get pulls from spirit to go up there and check, and sure enough, he fucking left food. And I was like, dude, no, like we're trying, like, and it was winter, so I'm just like, of course they're gonna, mice are like, food, food. Um, anyway, so it wasn't as bad as I thought it was, but there was definitely some stuff that it was pretty rough. And I was more upset that I don't believe we would have had that issue if there was no food in there. Because, you know, they're smart to find somewhere to like whatever, but uh, there was rice, and I was like, what, where are they getting rice? And I remembered that the people before us, like when they were cleaning it out, they just like threw a bunch of, they made like a big garbage pile, and then like to take to the dump because they were getting rid of so much stuff like furniture and just like shower curtains, like weird shit. And and I remember that they'd like thrown food, and I was like, why did you do that? Like that is so like, why would you do that? There are so many field mice up here. Like, don't do that. So there was just all these little things, and I got really mad because in my mind, we've been here for 16 months, and so in my mind, uh, I was like, well, I can't like, or not 16 months. That's not true. I think we've been out of Big Camper for 16 months because we came here a year ago in July, and it's October. So, but anyway, you get the drift. Um, but that's where the control and the anger came in, where I was so frustrated. That's when I hurt myself and got this horrible splinter from the pine cone because I had this bag of pine cones that had like the cinnamon and stuff on them, that you can get at the store. Somebody had left them in a we went to this place to get furniture, and the guy's like, they left all this stuff. Do you guys want it? And Spirit told me to grab that. And I was like, why? I'm like, it's probably fucking chemicals. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's not real, And they're like, just grab it. I'm like, okay. But the interesting thing is that I realized that the mice had gotten into almost every corner of our stuff in one way or the other. Um, except for this one area, and it's where those pine cones were. And I feel like they gave them to us, and if I had like opened the bag and put them all over, if I'd put essential oil, like there were so many things I could have done. Instead I just got mad and was blaming everybody, and I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, this is our home. And it's really just starting to feel like our home. It's just starting to feel like our property. He's been gone, like all the crew and everything has been gone for like 2 months. But crew, not like there was that many people, but you know what I mean. Um, but now it's like it's time for us to, take it. But we've had like these stops. We had problems with the well, but we had to wait on our landlord to get things for the well. And so I just lost my mind the other day because I'm like, between you and him. And then I realized my whole life was surrounded by divine masculine. And I know I've been saying that for the last year, but the divine masculine is crumbling right now while it rebuilds itself, and while the divine feminine is on the rise. divine feminine is what we've been lacking for thousands of years because it's been in a very male dominated, women are breeders and or whores, we don't have a brain, we don't, you know what I mean, like, all of these things. So it's been a quite a lesson for me, and because I was raised with so much control and narcissism from my family. Very interesting, very interesting. And Alder and I, like, we're stronger than we've ever been, but we're also having these like very, very intense conversations and arguments where, afterwards, I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get so heated, but I was just like, I'm getting to the point where I keep trying to change my languaging or I just, the reason why I'm exhausted is because I'm literally like 24/7 working on myself and working on my home and our home, and working on that, right? Like that it's ours, it's not just mine. Just a lot. It's just been a lot. But then when I read this stuff from the bat and all this stuff from the shaman, I feel like I'm metaphorically going through that. And I said to Alder, I'm like, maybe we need to dig a thing. He's probably going up to the, oh yeah, he's going to the cabin. He's going to work on the well. I said, maybe we need to dig a hole somewhere on the property for us to take turns and do that. But it's getting really cold at night here, so I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm like, that'd be pretty fucking cold. But then I thought, well, maybe it's just metaphorically. It's like that's why I'm having these like meltdowns and these breakthroughs from these breakdowns because it's like my it's like instead of laying in the earth and hearing the sounds and being in the darkness, it's happening, in other ways. For instance, the other day, um, our landlord was like, I got some stuff for you guys. Our gate is about almost a quarter of a mile from the road, or our home is about a quarter of a mile from the road, up a hill, and but you know, there's a gate at the bottom, and so there's like where you pull into like the property, and then you go up a hill, and then there's our gate. You can't see it from the road really unless you're coming from another direction. And so he's like, I'm going to hang some supplies for you guys on the gate. And the rain was coming. So I said, hey, I'm going to, he goes, I'm not going to let you know or whatever. Or he goes, I'm leaving now. So like a few hours had gone by and I said, you think it's there yet? And I said, you know what? I don't care if it's there. I said, I feel like taking a walk. And he's like, okay. So Bubba and I went for a walk down to the gate, but it was almost dark. And I shit you not, and we're about halfway from from the road to the cabin, right? So I walked through the woods on our road, right? Like down to the gate, and all the way down and all the way back up, I was like inundated with fucking shadow. They were trying to scare me. They were, and then I realized yesterday, I'm like, this is what's happening. I'm like, they're trying to fucking scare me. They want me to be in fear. Speak your truth, right? The darkness, they don't want us to succeed, or they don't want us to live in light. They don't want, we're always going to have our shadow. It's part of us. It's part of us. Absolutely. But we don't need to live in it. I said to my partner the other day, I said, I feel like I do try very hard to stay balanced in my shadow and my light. But with him, I think why we struggle so much, not blaming him, I'm not playing a victim or anything like that, but just the way that he was raised, just like all of our situations, like both of our situations are very different. And the way we were raised was very, very different. And so I said, I feel like he's 70% dark and 30% light. And I'm like, or maybe, you know, 60/40. But I was like, there's like this at least 20% I feel like that hasn't changed, that dwells in the darkness. And I feel like I'm exhausted in our relationship because I feel like I spend so much time trying to fight the darkness. But when we had that break from each other, the first 3 days are always like me kind of like getting back into my own groove. But then by day 10, I was like, I was strong. I was like, no fear. I was like, I'm made of magic and miracles. I believe in magic and miracles. But man, us back together in like a week, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, and I'm like, it just wants him. And I feel like that's why we're so good together. And if it's true about the twin flames, it would make sense because he's like it's like even like down to like he has dark hair and darker eyes. I have light eyes and light hair. It's like we're almost like the light and the dark. We're like the yin and the yang. So I feel, and when we met, we've said this for years that I've always felt like I was just a like we were kind of like this when we met. I was just maybe a little bit more like spiritual than he was, like on my path and my journey. And then it's been like this since we've been together. And there's been times where I've been like this, where I'm like, we got to break up. Like I can't. Like you gotta, But now it's like I feel like we're right there, except for there's still this darkness that I feel like I'm constantly battling that I don't battle when he's not here. I go, it's just a fact, honey. I said, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm not, trying to make you feel bad. I'm like, I'm just saying that like other people's energy makes a big difference. Also, I barely leave the property or the house because of my sensitivity. He's an empath too, but he's not nearly as sensitive as I am. He inadvertently picks up energy. And so that's what I was saying to him. I'm like, we need to have more of our practices where it's like, when you take your shoes off before you come in the house, like you smudge before you come in the house. We're actually building an area in our house where people come in where we will do that, because especially now with the energy is like it's like the third dimensional and the fifth dimension are like this right now, and people are like and they don't know what to do, they don't know how to feel. And I can feel it when I go out into the world. I walk into a grocery store, it's like it's as a telepath and an empath, it is just like overwhelming. There are days I'm like, yeah, I just can't. There's no way. I'm like, there's no way. Especially if it's like energetically, like a lot of crazy shit happening on the planet. I can't just like jump in the car and go to the store like everything's fucking normal. It's not going to happen. There's not enough weed in the world. So, and that's why I give him so much, credit, because he's dealing with his stuff and he's dealing with, that because he works outside of the home too. He works on cars, so he's a mobile mechanic and he goes to people's homes. So he's on their property, their energy, working on their car. It's a lot of energy that like comes back into our world. So, you know, um, thanks for listening. I mean, there's just so many things. We're going to talk about so many things, especially now because in real time it's October 4th. And as the veil grows thinner, it's just going to get more and more and more and more and more and more intense. Not to mention that we're in eclipse season. We've got the new moon um, in Libra and the solar eclipse. And then at the end of the month, we've got the full moon in Taurus with a lunar eclipse. And that's really intense. Also, in real time, Venus is still in retrograde, but she's going to go direct on the 7th. So it's going to be really beautiful and wonderful because Venus is in Taurus right now. So, you know what I mean? Like, or at that time. So then the full moon in Taurus, a lot of things are going to be illuminated. The great thing about eclipses is that we're in shadow. We face our shadows. Some people thrive in eclipses. Some people have breakdowns that help them break through, and some people just are in a really dark place because they don't know what's happening or they refuse to see what's happening. But I can't look away anymore. I told him that. I'm like, with every fiber of my being, I feel like we're meant to be together. I go, but at the same time, I'm like, I also know that like whatever I'm supposed to do, I'm feeling stagnant. Part of it is my music. Um, I've been, that's, I'm just going to say it. That is a fear that I'm working through. It sucks because I totally believe in myself and I believe in my voice and I believe in my message and my songs and my writing and stuff, but I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. So we'll see what happens, but I pray that we will be in the house. My goal is to move in after the new moon. Because once Venus goes direct too, I feel like everything's going to start to feel better for everybody. I mean, if you don't know what Venus rules, go research it. But I mean, Venus, the goddess of love, I mean, but it's also, like home and wealth and our finances and things like that. And Alder and I have been, we kind of had this thing again where we went down to, we were like, getting change out of our fucking, out of just to like get food. I'm like, what is happening? And he was raised in this very like you know, his parents were addicts and they were hustlers. So until he was 12, he did not live a life like a child should live. And I don't want to, say too much about all that because he's going through so much right now. And I'm really proud of him. And he's come so far. That's why I told him, I go, I know you've come so far. I've come so far. I go, but we have to keep pushing. We're at the very, very end. And when you're at the end, it just feels like you want to give up. And it's like the time when you want to give up is the time that we cannot give up. 55, 16, and then 18. Um, so don't give up. Keep going. I believe in you. Spirit believes in you. You got this. But pay attention to what's going on around you. You may be going through some type of death as well. This is the shedding, as the veil grows thinner to Halloween, Samhain, Day of the Dead, whatever you believe in. It's real. It's very real. And it doesn't matter which part of the world. One of my favorite readers, Deborah, who's the Hedge Witch Tarot, she's so cute. She's from South Africa. She goes, we don't have anything like that. She goes, we don't. She goes, Halloween, Samhain, Day of the Dead. She's like, that is not celebrated here. She's like, you guys are so lucky. She goes, those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, she goes, you guys are so lucky. We don't have that. Like, they don't celebrate holidays the same way that we celebrate holidays, all over the world. Like, it's very interesting. If they do, it's because they were colonized by the British, years ago. So it was very interesting, but it's very real. It's happening whether you believe in it or not. And the ancestors are going to really come for us this month. They're not fucking around. And what I've been experiencing has been on a level that I can't explain because I've never been through it before. My ears have been ringing where I feel like I'm deaf. Like I can feel I'm like changing like everything in my body, and I've been asking for it and praying for it and going through the motions of it. And but at the same time I'm dealing with all of these people and these situations that are in this third dimensional reality that is not my reality. So it's super uncomfortable. But I told him, I said, I feel like we're like right on the precipice. And like once we get in and like, like it'll mean more. Right now, it's like we're frustrated because we're paying all this money for rent. And, I mean, it's going towards our home because we're in a rent to buy. It's going towards equity in our house. But it's just frustrating to pay that much money. And like we've paid 2 months rent already and we're still fucking like almost 2 months. Um, and we're still in the RV. It's maddening. It's maddening. And Alder was really pissed the other day. He's like, we told him that we weren't paying rent until we were going to live in there and, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, but also I'm like, we took possession, because we said we would do this and he said he would do that. So I feel like we're going to have another discussion about some things because yeah, it is the water issue is not our issue. And he was like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. I'm like, it's not fine. I don't want to wash myself or my clothes or whatever in an unmanaged well that is like leaving sediment and dirt in my clothes, you know what I mean, or on my skin or in my hair. Um, my one friend yesterday was like, yeah, I'm so glad that you listened to, because I got the vibe from Spirit that like we should not like, because his thing was like, well, you don't need blah blah blah, and I'm like, we cannot clean the house with dirty water. Because he was like, well, you've been living like that. And I was just like, no, 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 no. I was like, no. So I feel like we're going to have some discussion about that because it is kind of messed up that it's been like that. However, I still look at it as that we're getting an incredible deal and he's been very generous. And so I try to not, I try to look the other way on other things because, not many people, you know, and also he's been really kind to us because he's like in shock that we've, he's like, I'm sorry it took me this long, but wow, he's like, you guys really hung in there. And I feel like because of that, he's been rewarding us by like, getting this, or when we need something, he's like, trying to take care of it. But, some things it's like you have to order parts, you have to order things and it takes a while. And then the other day it was so funny because Spirit's like, welcome to being a homeowner. Like, I've rented for all my life pretty much, when I wasn't like living with other people like my parents or my family or friends, like, here and there. Um, but yeah, so when you have a house, shit happens. So you got to do what you got to do. One of Alder's regular clients didn't renew his or something with his insurance on his house, and he had a house fire. He had to pay for everything out of his own pocket. Yeah, really bad. Like I'm talking like over $100,000. So, with that being said, I just hit an hour, and it is what it is, and life is what it is. And I think I've spent a lot of time trying to control, manipulate, and skate out of responsibility, or having, face putting, dealing with things head on, dealing with confrontation, running away, living in this fight or flight mentality, and my partner as well. So that's why we're twin flames, right? Like we've been through so many similar things together, but it's not going to help either one of us if we're not learning and we're not growing so that we can move past that. So all of these things are pretty profound. Um, Also, I'm really excited because, Alder makes his own version of the ayahuasca, and I've always wanted to do it, but Spirit has told me no, and I got the vibe that I'm going to do it this year. So once we get in the house, I don't know if I'm going to do it around Samhain, on Samhain. He's going to make a fresh brew for me once we're like in and settled. If not, I mean, my birthday's in December. Maybe it'll be some type of. But I told him, I said, we're also kind of like par for the course right now because we're both in our early 50s, right? And so, like today he was so fun. He's like, "Wow, you're gonna be 52." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." Um, but I said we're in that kind of midlife crisis thing, but it's not just a midlife crisis, it's a crossing consciousness. And I saw this really great quote, and if I can find it, I'll put it, look in the community section. I always try to put fun little things in the community section, but it was something about the, like, that old saying, you can't heal where you're hurt. It was kind of the same thing, but they said something about you can't solve your something with your consciousness. Like you can't solve a problem in this consciousness with a consciousness from the past. I'm paraphrasing, but I'll post it. I'll find it and I'll post it because it was like, man, I was like, because sometimes I don't understand things and it may go on like this for like a week where I'm like, what the fuck? And I apologize. There's so many of you who have texted me, reached out to me, called me, emailed me. I'm so sorry. I couldn't. I need to stay in my bubble. I need to get through this. I need to just push through it because I'm almost there. I'm almost there. I'm almost there. Um, but it was so powerful when I read it because I was like, yeah, that's what this whole week has been about, is like spirit showing me that I have leveled up myself. Like I was saying this to Alder, but I'm saying anything I say to Alder, anything I say to you guys, I'm saying to myself because we're all the same and we're all, we just mirror each other. We're just at different levels of our consciousness and different levels of our journey of understanding ourselves. And even though we are all connected and we're one fiber of one being, we're still little micro divisions of this self that we are one. And um, and so we must face our fears and face the darkness and face all of these things. And you know not talking to people, stopping talking to family, friends, coworkers, people that aren't in your greatest and highest good, that you feel depleted after you hang out with them, that we had to come to Jesus yesterday because Alder has somebody in his life that I know that he loves them and he loves like hanging out with them, but every time he comes back, there's something about him. I'm like, you have a very depleted energy. I feel like he has to like really smudge you know and this person's doing really well and they're really far along their path, but they're not where we are. And I kind of got upset because I said, do you know how many people I wish I could just call right now? My one childhood friend, I miss her more than I've missed anyone. I miss her. I think about her all the time. And I just, maybe she's in somewhere else right now or whatever. But I said to him, I'm like, I don't talk to her anymore. And the reason why was because we were so connected. We knew way too many people. We were connected, like our families were connected, our friends were connected. It was too much. And there was hardly ever a conversation that somebody from the past didn't come into it, or some issue, or some memory, and those are micro triggers that it's not about that you can't handle it. It's about that it's like it just keeps bringing you back to another life that you don't live anymore. And then I had to say to him, I go, you do realize, I go, I have literally one solo, uno, one person in my life right now that is the only person that's been in my life for, 20 plus years. Everybody else are people that I have met on my spiritual journey. And since I have woken, everybody else from my past is gone. I cannot, because beyond the like, oh, I know you, or oh, this is fake, or this is me. I'm like, no, I'm not fake. This is who I really am. This is who I've always been. I was just a different version of myself for you, or a different, whatever. We adapt like chameleons, especially empaths. We've always been empaths. So we knew at an early age that we had to change, who we were to to get people to like us, accept us, love us. I saw something recently. This is what I started to talk about at the beginning of the video, uh, with Elise Myers about her OCD. And I told Alder, I'm like, I've been having OCD really bad too, like with my spiritual practice, which before I never was like that. I mean, it's like, it's almost as if every part of my brain is like a computer, and it's going through each thing and like scraping through and being like, okay, what are we keeping? What are we getting rid of? What are we keeping? What are we getting rid of? And when I was going through the cabin, it was like I didn't get rid of as much stuff as I thought I was going to get rid of, but I got rid of so much, like things that I'm like, I don't really need that, or that's why it was, whatever. And I said that to him. I go, I feel like if the mice ruin anything, it's going to be like that was meant to happen, like don't hold on to that anymore. And, I feel like there were some things I just was like, I can't handle that right now. So I put them in like piles or bags and like put them away. But as I clean, and then I went and I cleaned really well in there. And because initially we had cleaned only that one room, I still never did the one side where the damage was. So hopefully that's not going to affect us from the fire, but it's not too bad. It's just that it's the wall that shares where the fire damage was in the wood stove. And there's a little bit of black soot, which is super dangerous, but um, it's not as bad as it could be. But anyway, it just felt good to go through there and clean all that shit up. But my OCD was like really like kind of taken over. And the mice have been everywhere, and Bubba's been killing them like crazy. I feel bad. I go outside and I see these dead mice. I feel horrible. But better that than, there was this one that was building a nest in our wall, and we found some babies, and we think Bubba got the mom, but there's still something. You can hear something in there. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I just send him love. Anyway, I've really run on. There's so much more to say, and I don't even remember it all right now. I'm really tired. Um, but yeah, there's something really special happening on the planet right now. And if you lean into that and face your fears and face, yourself, and you say goodbye to old ghosts. I know for some of you, you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to, still talk to this person, or stay at this job, or stay at this place because, blah, 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 blah. And this, and it's like, you can keep making excuses for yourself, but Spirit has given us all ample time to move our lives forward to where they need to be. And now they're saying, like, you can stay there. That's your choice. Some people will never awaken in this lifetime, and they will just live in this, and some people, you know, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But if you've noticed, they just had a major thing with the politics in the United States, where the Speaker of the House was impeached. I don't know. Do they say that impeachment? Is that just for the president? But anyway, he was asked to step down. He was voted out. It hasn't happened since the 1800s. Like, there's some serious stuff is happening everywhere. We're going to see breakdowns of, just everything. But we're also going to see really wonderful, magical things. So stay in the magic. If people around you are really negative, or, I mean, a year from next month is is a presidential election year in the United States. They're always chaotic. A lot of stuff happens. The last election year, look at how many people, Black Lives Matter, the Me Too movement, all of these things happened over the last two elections, right? Because people were being murdered for the color of their skin. People were, I mean, there's so many things that have happened. All of these women and men have been coming forward about being raped and traumatized, and all these celebrities. My gosh, Lady Gaga, when she told her story, I was like, wow, how did she hold that in for so long? Just everybody seeing so many things happen. We're going to see a lot more things happen. Over the next 6 to 8 years is going to be such a transformative time for this planet, all over the planet. So, you know, don't wait. You're only hurting yourself. Trust me when I tell you this. And every time I want to fight or flight when I'm in that mode, it's because it's old programming that doesn't want to, I had to have a come to Jesus in the mirror with Kelly. Like I was just like, I love you, man. Like thank you so much. Like you're amazing. Like you got me here. Like I'm so proud of you, but then I was like, it's time for me to like take over and be me. I want to be like kumbaya and happy and loving. Of course shit's going to happen. It's life, but you know, um we're in the midst of the biggest transformative energy this planet has seen, because even if things have happened on the planet before, as far as we know, there wasn't the same kind of like technology and like the like coming together of the countries, and now we're all linked to each other. I had a conversation with somebody in West Africa the other day, you know like that would have never happened. But here we are enjoying the same video, both having the same emotions towards it. We're completely different. We come from different worlds, different cultures. And on top of it, they were divine masculine, and just to talk to them about something like that, it was really cool. So, you know, uh, it's just different. And there are power in numbers, and there's way more power in the light than there is in the dark. And that's why they're fighting you. They want you to give up. They want you to walk away. Alder and I, like, they want us to break up. Alder and I together are a powerful fucking force. But why would they want us together? Why would they want us together? The dark, they want to, because they want to live. It's like, because it's like a parasite. The darkness that has been controlling this planet is parasitic. It's not like the darkness that we have inside of us that was, co-created by all of us, right? It is a different type of darkness. It's an energy, it's an entity that is taken on its own. That's even been called names like Lucifer, the devil, demons, all these things. But the things that were coming for me the other day when I was taking that walk outside, they were like shadow people. But even so, I can feel that, like, you know, is it really dark and sinister, or is it something of like, this was old Native American ground that we live on. One of the oldest tribes on in the United States, it was from this land that we live on. So who knows what they were? There's just so much happening around us all the time. Whatever you believe in is what you believe in, and what you cater to is what you cater to. What you believe in is what you believe in. So, and remember that everything we think and everything we say, we're creating a reality. So, I'm excited to create and co-create my new reality with my family up in our new house. I will say this, after I like cleaned everything up and like went through everything, I like basically unpacked all of my dishes. I took all the paper off. I was like, I didn't want anywhere for the mice to feel comfortable. I took away any source that would make them comfortable. Any fabrics, the funniest part about it is we have a dresser, a nice big dresser with big drawers, vintage. It's like 100, I think about 100 years old, or over 100 years old. And we have a vanity with drawers, and we have a huge like wardrobe with drawers and hanging things. Did I put any of my clothes or my stuff did I put that in there? No. Did I put the things, I mean, there were so many things I realized that were my error that I should have done that. Like I know better. Like I saw that there were signs of mice in there months ago. Like I knew, you know. but yet it was easier for me to blame everybody else. And as I was like cleaning things up and putting things in the drawers so that the mice couldn't get to them, uh, I laughed to myself because I was like, you know, I have learned more lessons in the last year and a half than I think I have in my entire life. I mean, seriously, in some ways, maybe not my entire life, but definitely like the most drastic, the most serious, the most, and they're the most mundane. But I just had this moment and I was like, we are so close. And I'm so excited. And I found some paint in the shed that I forgot that we had gotten from this other free pile. And this one color yellow like matches this furniture that I wanted to redo like perfectly the color I wanted. I was just like, so I know it's all coming together, but also spirits like, get rid of the shit, get rid of the garbage. And the mice were there to remind me, like, they're just living their best lives. And Alder found this other hole that they had chewed through, this one thing. Somebody had, I don't know, whoever built this cabin, I don't want to speak ill, but there are just things where you're like, why or what? You're like, why would you do that? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, but there was this one part that we were concerned about and we kept checking on it and it seemed like it was fine, and then finally we saw we'd pulled back from the inside and they had chewed through the wall, and I was like, ah, I'm like, fuck. But again, we could have, he's like, I couldn't fit my finger. Alder has really big hands and he goes, I couldn't fit my finger through there. They say if you can't fit your finger through there that it's fine. And I'm like, the fact that you even thought there was slightly, I'm like, why didn't you cover it more? You know what I mean? Like, we had this where we didn't get in a fight about it, but I was just like, what do you mean? Because he'll be responsible for one thing, I'll be responsible for something else. Like, I'll be like, I'm taking on this chore, you take on this chore. So when he doesn't do something all the way, I get really frustrated because I'm just like, if I had done it right, because I'm controlling, right? I'm like, or I was controlling, I'm not controlling anymore. I have to keep telling myself, and it's an everyday practice. I'm not fucking kidding. We really have to do it every single day. We have to talk every single day to ourselves, positive talk, especially for those of us that it's so deeply ingrained in us, the abuse, you know what I mean? If it's so deeply ingrained in us, it's going to take more than just like, okay, I'm going to think differently. I'm going to, it's like, it's an everyday thing. And you're going to have days where you're going to be like, fuck that. I don't care. I'm going to eat the fucking bad food and I'm going to watch whatever I want to watch. I'm going to, but as an empath, especially during spooky season, as I like to call it, don't watch horror movies or things that are going to get you scared. Like, don't do that stuff. It's just going to bring more fear. And when you bring the fear, then you bring the darkness around you. And then you know what I mean? It's a fucking slippery slope. You got to be really careful. I don't watch horror movies unless I'm in a really good mood, and I do it during the day. And then I make sure that I watch something really happy or joyful or uplifting afterwards. And I swear, I don't even think about it. But if like, midnight and it's, dark outside and blah, 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 and you feed into your fear and you're like, what was that? Well, you know what I mean? It's like, it starts the whole thing. When I was walking and those shadows were coming for me, you know what I was doing? I was going, I'm a divine light being. And I was singing in a very high vibration. And when I started to do that, they didn't do it anymore. It's like, it's your natural bug repellent of like the darkness. It really is. It's like it's your natural bug repellent. It's being like, you don't scare me. I'm not afraid of you. I am divinely protected. Like that's what I did. I sang all the way there and back because I didn't at first, but then they were like, I was like, whoa. And they were like, fine. I was like, whoa. I was like, stop it. I'm like, fucking stop it. I'm like, stop it. But then the anger's not good too because that feeds them too. There's so much. And there's so much more we're going to talk about. And I don't know what's going to happen with my channels, if you're going to have me keep going or not keep going. I don't know. I don't know if these things will ever even see the light. Sometimes like I said, I may just be making them for myself. Now they have things where you can make shorts from your videos. So it could even be that like they have me do this, but then they have me do random shorts from it. I don't know. But my channels have been kind of stagnant lately, and I haven't been feeling like the things that I want to post aren't like really getting a lot of looks. And then when I watched that video where the lady was like saying like the 5 reasons why your channel's not growing, then I thought to myself, I think partially that's true. She's right with the algorithm, but I also believe that if everything happens for a reason, so if you're in the right place at the right time, It doesn't fucking matter. If people like you and they're interested in your life and they're interested in what you do, I think they will watch, you know. There's a reason why I have more subscribers on the Magical Medium. People want free readings. Not many people are going to come on to Lula's Life. I am giving a lot of free content here too, but you know, sometimes people are like, you talk too much about yourself. I'm like, yeah, that's the whole point. It's my journey. I'm sharing it with you. And maybe somewhere in there there'll be some little pearls, some little breadcrumbs that'll help you, you know, or lead you to where you need to be to heal yourself, to change your life, to transform your existence into who you're really meant to be. That's my job here too. Don't let the naysayers tell you who you are or what you are or what, you know, yesterday I said to Alder, I'm like, do you think I'm crazy? Am I crazy? Are you even real? I mean, am I making all this up? I mean, trust me, I get lost in the spirals of my brain and my thoughts. And but then once everybody went to bed last night and it got real quiet and I started working with the bat spirit medicine, it was like I felt super calm. And then when I read that about the shamans, like whatever, and I was like, oh my gosh, it all came together. The whole week of, you know, the trials and tribulations of the darkness and facing myself. And it just actually got me more excited. I woke up this morning and I feel different, you know? And so don't judge your feelings and don't judge, you know, just don't judge at all. Don't judge yourself or anyone. Like, just allow this process to be what it is and apologize. You know, apologies aren't empty, you know, because I said to him, I go, sometimes I do feel bad because I feel like I apologize and I say, I'm not going to do that again. And then I'll do it again. And so I finally said to him, I go, I'm in a transformative phase and so are you. And I said, we are both redoing things while we're pushing past them. So, you know, we give each other a lot of leeway. You know, I personally believe that the single people have it have it made right now. Honestly, in a weird way you do, because when I love him and I want to be with him and I called him into my life and I know that we're all here together for a reason. But those 10 days when I was by myself and I didn't have to care for anybody else except for, you know, Baba, because I said that to him. One of our arguments started because I said, I go, you have no empathy for like my like what I'm going through. And he's like, what? We both had a break. You didn't have a good break. And I go, you were by yourself in a tent. You could drive yourself. You can go anywhere you wanted. I go, you only had to concern yourself with you for 10 days. I said, I still had to care for Baba. And those of you who know her, like Bubba is like the most high maintenance animal I've ever had. And I've had a lot. And I ran a little foster rescue when I lived in LA. No, Bubba is like unlike anybody. I must let her in and out of the house anywhere between 5 and 20, 30 times a day. I'm not joking. I'm not making it up. I mean, she really like, she has her own mind when she wants to do something. Sometimes she'll want to come in 3 times in a half an hour just because she wants to go to the bathroom or she wants to get some food or she wants to take a nap or, you know, and she won't stop. If I'm like, Bubba, can you please be respectful and working? Whatever. She's like, meow, meow, meow. And she will go fucking crazy. The other day, she went to the door and we have a screen door and she looked at me and I said, you know what? You're not going out anymore today. I'm like, you're in for the night. And I told her when she was coming in, it was dusk. And I said, whatever you need can wait 10 more minutes because you're going to have to come in anyway. And she was so impatient. And so I'm like, all right. And I let her in. I go, you're not going out anymore tonight. You're done. So she came in, she ate, and then she went to the door and she's like, I want to go back out. And I'm like, no, you're in for the night. I just told you that. And I know she understands, right? So she's sitting by the door and she's meowing. And then she hits the door like, let me out. And I'm like, no. Then she like looks at me and she takes the screen part of the and she starts yanking it and pulling it out of the door. Sorry, that's this thing that's leaning up against the RV. I live in a mobile home, so like the house shakes when I shake. But yeah, she like stuck her fucking claws in there right in front of me and she was like, let me out. And I'm like, no. I'm like, you are naughty. That's why I posted something on the Magical Medium. That was an old video I found last summer, but I was like, that's how she's been lately. She doesn't get, you know, when this happens with the ancestors, she gets worse too. She's a witch. She's a witch inside of a cat's body. So, you know, she's very demanding. She wants things her way. I'm pretty sure she was a queen in another life or some superiority of some kind because she treats us like, you know, and it's not just the cat thing, it's beyond that. But yeah, so I said to him, I'm like, don't you have any empathy for me? And he's like, and I go, that's what I mean. I go, that little shrug. I go, that's not normal for me. Like, I'm like, I need someone in my life that understands what a sensitive I really am, and that because when he's here, we at least he helps me a little bit with Baba. Not totally, you know. Um, but like he never cleans the litter box or does any of that stuff unless I ask him to. So I said, yeah. So for 10 days, I go, I didn't even have you helping me with her. Because in the mornings, he gets up an hour to 2 hours before me sometimes. And so, like, he does that. Like, he'll get up and he'll let her out and he'll feed her. He'll, let her in the bathroom, blah, blah, blah. She has her own bathroom in the house. And, so that takes a little pressure off of me, in the morning so that I can sleep in. Because he goes to bed at like, 2, sometimes 4 hours before I do. And when he was gone, if she wants to get up, she doesn't give a shit what time I went to bed. She doesn't give a shit what time it is in the morning. If she wants to go outside or she wants to eat or she has to get into her bathroom, she will pounce on me and be like, hey, get up until I fucking like get up. So we had a few moments where I was like screaming at her and I was like, enough, Baba. I'm like, I can only, like be your personal slave, so much throughout the day where I'm like, I'm going to lose my mind. So that was one of the main fights we had was I'm like, you have no fucking empathy for the fact that like I have to, deal with her on an everyday basis. And she's getting worse as she gets older. I was kind of hoping that she would die down, but it's not die down, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I really thought that she would mellow out, but she's not. And I love that in a way, she's 13, but I'm just like, like, come on, So he doesn't, those are the things where we fight because he doesn't, it's like, it doesn't connect in his computer brain. Like, and I can't force him to have empathy for me, even though I want him to. And I try to make him, I can't force it. Fuck, I just talked another half hour. Anyway, it's just been like nonstop. And I know all of us have our stuff, I mean, I'm not saying, whatever. And then in between that, I'm, looking on, Craigslist and offer up all the time, looking for stuff for the house. We've got a new stove. I'm really excited about that. Jolly got us a new stove, our landlord, and my little French provincial country kitchen is coming together. I'm so excited. It's very witchy, but it's like French country witch meets like witch. It's really awesome. So I can't wait to share it with you guys. I can't wait to share so much with you guys. So much is happening, but in the interim, man, if this isn't my shaman like initiation, I don't know what the fuck is. I feel like my lifestyle is the metaphor of like laying in that fucking dirt hole with the blanket over me. And who knows, like maybe that will be something I really do. We don't really have any predators around here, so I don't think for me, it's more like, I don't like things crawling on me. And there's a lot of spiders around here, like a lot. And I don't like to kill spiders because they're amazing. All right, that's it. I will talk more on things, and if you've made it this far, wow, like thank you for being a part of my life and caring and giving a fuck for an hour and 28 minutes about it. But I love you, and I beg you to take good care of yourselves and each other during this time. And as the veil grows thinner, do yourself a favor and lean into your past and heal it. Don't avoid it. It will keep coming for you because that's been the conundrum for me. I'm like, spirit, how do I not deal with my past, or not deal with my past? That's not what they're saying, but they're saying, how do I stay in the present and not go into the past when my issues and my core root of my oppositions in my growth are from my past. And that is the whole point, is that of course our past is going to come up. But if we are surrounded by people, places, and things that constantly remind us of an old version of ourselves, we're not going to change or heal because we'll be stuck in the loop of it. So even if it's just temporary, like you say to your friends and family, I don't know when I'm going to talk to you again. I don't know what's going to happen, but I need to take a long break. One of the last messages from my mom on my birthday last year was so desperate and panicky, and it was very upsetting. And it, I went through so many different emotions over it, because it was almost as if she was like, haven't I been punished enough? Like, why are you punishing me? Like, why are you doing this? I don't understand. Like, why are you doing this to me? And I told her that I didn't know how long it was going to be until I talked to her, but I needed a long break. But she just kept pushing. And I'm like, you're making it worse for yourself, because this isn't about you. This is about me. And if people are pushing you to be somebody else or be somebody from your past, they're making it about them, because they're not ready. They're not ready to deal with who you are now, because they haven't dealt with who they are still. And not everybody has the courage to do it. We don't judge them for it. We just have to step away from it. I love my family and my friends. I am who I am today because of them. But they are no longer, I don't need them, and they don't need me. And we all need to focus on going inward and working through our things individually. And then we go back to our friends and certain people that are helping us on our path. But the whole point is to grow. We want to grow. We want to learn. We want to change. We want to evolve. And you cannot grow and change and evolve in the same place. And just like the lotus growing out of the mud, if you stay in the darkness, you'll never find the light. But once you start going out of that mud and you start going towards the light and you open up like that beautiful flower, your new world will be right there waiting for you. It's right here now. The dimensions are an experience and a place in your heart and your mind and your soul. Till next time, I love you. Blessed be. Oh, bye. Oh, oh.